Thanks so much for joining us. This is MeWe Fairs for energizing body, mind, heart, and soul. We have events throughout the Northwest. We have many online, and today is our online awakening panel. We have themes for our panels, and today is self-love and self-acceptance. There are 6 of us that are on the panel tonight. We'll be introducing ourselves and talking about the theme, and then we'll be taking questions from the audience. We'd love to get a question on the theme. The same kind of question that you would ask us sitting in a private session. And then you'll get to hear probably from all of us. You'll get feedback from all of us tonight, not just one of us in a session. The question can be on any topic though too. As we go around and share about who we are and what we do, you'll see that we approach so many different topics for so many different directions. We could really work with anything that you'd bring to us. Yeah, we deeply appreciate you being here. There's some basic info in the chat. Maybe I should post it in here one more time on what we're doing tonight. If you know already that you'd like to ask a question, or if you've already paid to ask a question, please, if you could just let me know in the chat, I'll get that all started. And trying to remember, we've been talking about astrologers and getting questions. No one needs birth date or anything like that ahead of time, right? No, I think not on this panel. Okay, great. And we might be joined by one more practitioner too. We will see. All right, great. Well, let's go ahead and we'll start our shares. And we got rearranged on the screen a little bit. I think we're having Dana, Anita, Christina, Yashu'a, and Paige will be introducing themselves. And you've got a couple of minutes. If you start going over the 2 minutes, go ahead and finish up. No rush, but I'll go ahead and do some version of this so you know that you're getting close to time, which means I got to turn on my timer. All right. Thanks so much, Dana. Tell us about who you are and what you do and what you're offering. Oh, and I'm going to put information in the chat about all the practitioners also. And practitioners, if I didn't necessarily get a special from each of you, or I might have an old, I have an old special I need to take off. If you have a new special or you have a special you want to give me, let me know what it is and I'll get it up in the list of everything. All right, thanks so much. Dana, go ahead.
Great, thanks Laureli. Hi everyone, it's so nice to be here with you. I am a clairvoyant and a healer and a teacher, musician, and a lover of life, many things, like we all are, these multidimensional beings. And I have an intuitive consulting and healing practice through which I work one-on-one with you and also in groups to help you gain clarity and insight about your own life and step into empowerment and align yourself with what is most truthful for you. And I do this through intuitive readings and healing sessions, sound healing, and also group work and retreats. And I have a Pathway to Self program, which is a really awesome, intensive, immersive experience with one-to-one coaching and healing and journeying together on your goals and what you're wanting to move through and what you want to bring into your life. And I love what I do. It's such a gift to be able to be working in the field of my passions and using my gifts. And I love supporting others to discover that as well. And today on the panel, I will be responding to your questions intuitively, meaning that I'll tune into my own channel and guides and invite wisdom from your guides to come through. And so I'll be closing my eyes to stay in touch with that inner sight and knowing, and then sharing with you what I'm getting. So I'm looking forward to the experience.
Great, thanks so much. I'm getting Yashua's information that put in the chat too. And yeah, Anita. Oh, you're muted. Let's get you unmuted.
So my name is Anita Orban, and when it comes to my skills, I think I would be the closest to call myself a soul seer, which means I can read energy that the person or the animal, they can be on the other side of the veil or here or alive or whatever. I was born with this skill, and because I'm a wanderer, I lived in 3 different countries on 3 different continents of this world. I met so many people from all walks of life, and some of them, they were great healers. The 2 most influential teachers I had was a remote viewer and an Apache medicine man. I learned to expand my skills from them, which I realized later in life, it would be closer to mediumship. The reason why I'm here for today is because of close relatives passed away. life. And I really had to learn about self-care and self at a different level. I can help you today with practical ideas, what I'm practicing, because I had to learn it myself. So I am not a practitioner as a profession. I live my skills as a lifestyle. I help everybody and anybody who crosses my path. I am always an ear to listen, and I'm a good friend. So this is all I can give you for today.
Thanks so much, Anita. All right, Christina.
Thank you. Well, Anita, being a good friend is, I think, that's what it's all about. But aloha, everyone. My name is Christina Becker. I'm originally from Germany and lived in many places of the world, and I'm now in Hawaii. And I also remember many of my past lives and living on other planets. I currently work as an intuitive energy healer. We're just bringing any kind of clairvoyance, any of those skills, while I'm also connecting to my guides and masters and the guides of those that I serve and work with. I've also been very called to dive into starseed health and guidance, since I consider myself a starseed, most likely from the Arcturian system. And so I did a course with Debbie Solaris recently, so I learned a lot about galactic history, which has been tremendously healing on my own journey, because it enables me to heal some of my wounds and trauma from past lives in other civilizations, which is very powerful. So I help people heal, clear, and activate, like I think everybody on the panel does. I believe we can benefit from a combination of multidimensional healing advice, but also practical. And my background is in nutrition and wellness, and so I also help my clients with very practical self-care and lifestyle advice, in addition to whatever spiritual and metaphysical guidance they might be in need of at the moment. I work virtually and in person, and I host retreats on Oahu in Hawaii as well. So I'm super excited to be here and meet the panel and meet our guests, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thanks so much, Christina. And next we have Yashu'a.
Greetings, 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 everyone. I am Yashu'a Eloheem. I'm a Reiki Master Teacher Plus with the Oracle. I'm an Oracle card reader, also a medium. So my thing is, where my experts lie is in trauma, because I suffered from a lot of trauma myself. And through that trauma, I learned how to heal myself, again, with the assistance of the ascended masters and ancestors, spiritual guides, archangels, particularly Archangel Metatron. And I'm just here to assist others in establishing a relationship with thine self, getting to love thine self. And once you reach that place of getting to love thyself, then you will know who you are from a divine perspective. And that's my whole, that's my platform right there. So I'm looking forward to helping anyone who wants to come and speak. Come as you are. I'm here.
Great, thank you. All right, and then we've got Paige.
Hi, I'm Paige. I'm incredibly honored to be amongst all of these healers and these guides right now, just hearing you guys speak. So thank you for holding space for me to be here as well. I am a Reiki healer, and I also do create ceremonies and space for mainly women to heal in terms of womb health and womb trauma. Whether that's a loss of a child like I have experienced, or sexual trauma like I've also experienced, and just tapping into that. And allowing yourself to feel all the emotions that need to be felt so that you can release them and move forward and move on with what your reality is. I try to create spaces where I can see you in your darkness and show you that you are loved in your darkness, so that when you do come into your light, you can step into that fully and embrace yourself in totality. And I'm in love with this topic because a few years ago, as I started my journey, I had told myself, like, I was just stretching and said, I love you. And I realized it was the first time I had ever said that to myself. And I want to bring that to other people and show them kind of practical steps and how to accept what your reality is in this time, and allow the expectation of what you thought your life was supposed to be, or who you were supposed to be, or who anyone thought you were supposed to be, kind of melt away and just accept who you are, where you are, and that is beautiful, who you are, where you are. So I'm very excited to get any questions from everyone and hear all the answers that will be across the board here.
Great, thank you. Oh, and I'm Laureli Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader, body psychology coach, and matchmaker. And I should time myself too, so hold on just one moment.
Laureli.
Sorry, Zoe, if you could please hold for now. So I'm an intuitive eye reader, matchmaker, and a body psychology coach. So I believe that eyes are a window to the soul, and they're also the window to our soulmates. So I read your eyes just like all kinds of people read eyes. I think that if you think of when you meet someone with dark sunglasses and you can't see their eyes, there's so much missing. And as soon as you see their eyes, there's so much there. So we all pick up a ton from each other based on our eyes. We don't realize what we see. We do it subconsciously. And I have a set of, yes, I read everybody all the time. And I think we all do. And so I use a set of archetypes to describe what I see in you. And my aim is to read your soul and help you better understand your soul, your purpose, understand your lessons and how to navigate and grow through lessons. And I can look at other people, photos of other people, videos of other people, and meet them in person. And all those, we read each other all the time. And I can talk about relationships you're in with maybe a romantic partner or a kid or a parent or a friend or a coworker, and help you better understand the relationship and why things happen the way they do, have more spaciousness for understanding them, and seeing what are really the strong things in the relationship and what to focus on, and where to have some needs that are different that you can't easily meet for each other, how to meet those elsewhere, or sometimes how to grow to meet each other in a way that's still authentic to who you are. And I love to use this work for matchmaking too, to help you find a soulmate. I also do body psychology of being aware of all kinds of messages that come through our body. I mean, all kinds of different things like postures and gestures, and also even just like if I get an itch and I'm scratching my head, it's telling me information about what's happening in my body. And I know now to listen to that some of the time. And I can see these things in you too. So all these kinds of things matter. Just the positioning of your head and your online dating photos, for example, all these things are conveying information to people subconsciously. And we can get more conscious about that. And there are all kinds of ways of utilizing our body to shift and open and grow and get unstuck and all kinds of different things. So that's what I'm up to and I'm doing. And I probably have some special for myself in here that I haven't updated too. So it looks like I don't even know what my special is, but it's probably, I do a free intro session for 20 minutes. So if you want to connect with me about that, and I got all these different MeWe events that I'm running, and yeah, just and Pacific Northwest in person is easy. Yeah, so thanks so much for being here. I'm grateful to have you be part of the panel. And we're going to go around and talk more about the theme next. Some of us already started talking about the theme, and there's just so much more we can say. So, all right. So yeah, we're going to go around and you'll have a chance to share again. And I just maybe first, did anyone think of anything else you want to share about yourself and your background that you didn't share earlier? Anyone want to jump in and share any more? Okay, great. All right. Well, so let's come back to you, Dana. So yeah, talk about self-love and self-acceptance, and in whatever way we want to explore that with us.
Great. Yeah, well, I love that we're doing this panel in the month of August. And I don't know if that was intentionally planned, but August is the Leo energy. And the Leo is like such a teacher of self-love and self-acceptance. And I'm also a Leo, so it's quite extra special. And, there's so many different things I could share here, but just thinking about how I've actually been a pretty shy Leo. And it's taken me a lot of my adult life to really come into myself, and through multiple phases of self-love and self-recognition, of choosing myself more fully, of choosing what is truthful as opposed to what was just blending with the crowd and wanting to be accepted or wanting to be liked. And so, I think that we can all relate to this process of being human and wanting to fit in and wanting to belong. And we also discover what our uniqueness is along the way and how that's actually really, truly valuable and of value. And so I love supporting people in that discovery process. And, thinking back to kind of the origins of the first moment when I really had that aha moment of, whoa, like this is what it feels like to love myself. I was in, so I was coming out of a studying abroad semester in Argentina, which in and of itself was a beautiful opening for me and led to me living in Argentina for 8 years, which is another story. But I went first just as a junior in college, and I came back having experienced a pretty severe injury that I experienced in my spine through doing this flip and landing on my head. And I had been making choices that weren't very safe up until that moment. I was a college student, I was drinking, I was partying, I wasn't really taking care of myself in the way that I have learned to do now. And so I'm coming out of this experience from Argentina back in the US and really hit quite a low. Both because I was physically experiencing a lot of pain and I was having the reverse culture shock of going back to the US after being in a different environment, and things just kind of lost their meaning for me, and I dropped pretty low. And then I happened upon a dojo studio that was offering kickboxing classes, and I had taken kickboxing a little bit in high school, and I remembered like connecting with that power, like what felt good to be in my body and kind of move the energy. And so I originally just went for kickboxing, but it actually wound up opening a world for me because the whole philosophy of this place and the teachers were so much about the whole experience, the whole human being. And we actually did pretty profound practices in those classes, one of which was sitting in a mirror and looking into our eyes and just being with what was arising. And then we did that with each other, right? And being with the discomfort at first of standing and facing someone and looking into the eyes. So a lot of authentic relating. And this is the moment where I had that aha of sitting in the mirror and looking in my eyes. And something happened. You might have experienced this before if you've done this practice, where like my personality just kind of left and I just felt essence and I just felt my presence. And I experienced the energy moving through my body in a totally different way. And I made a conscious choice in that moment of loving myself and of what love actually felt like. And it was beautiful and moving, and definitely opened the door for me of a different way of being and relating to myself. And so I don't know how I'm doing on time, but that feels like a good little nugget to share. And just really, I'm excited to hear what all of these amazing practitioners have to share from their windows, and looking really forward to your questions, because this topic is so broad and yet can be so powerful. So thank you so much for listening and being here.
Yeah, it's great. And we've got a relatively small group. So everyone be flexible in timing. If you've got something you want to share, just go ahead and share it. It's great.
Great. And Laureli, I just remembered I did want to share my specials, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. Yeah, so I'm offering a 30% discount with working with me on a one-on-one session. And the coupon code is in the link there. It's MeWe special. And you can also visit my website below at danahersh.com and learn more about what I do.
There you go, fresh in the chat. Anita, tell us about self-love and self-acceptance.
Well. Well, when you listen to these gurus and not the gurus, but some coaches, there was a time after the death of my husband. I'm sorry I have to say this because this is a biggie. And when you lose somebody you love the most in the world, you totally, I was totally lost, man. Like I lost it totally. And I literally had to rebuild myself. And you ask yourself these questions like, what the meaning of life? Well, this man was healthy and he died. I could die tomorrow, man. So, and there's a greater power that holds us here. If they want you to heal, they will heal you. If your time is up, your time is up. So when you realize this is a new concept, like we have a limited time, and this is not a cliche. And so I did my digging, and I realized one thing, that if you cannot be your own companion, if you just do practical things,
Mhm, mhm.
live with yourself, you are not comfortable with your own presence and only your own presence, then you still not accepted this body. We have a body and we're always struggling with it, because the soul always wants to go home. The soul turns always inward. That's the nature of it. The body nature is turning outward. So the two is always in conflict. And self-love is where you chain them together, when you merge the two together. And it's not going to go by thinking about it. It's not logical. It's not intellectual. It's what Dana said, is that moment of merging, by finding something, a catalyst, like the catalyst, I'm not sure if I'm saying the right word. So it's only, where you recognize that what it means loving yourself. It's not an act. It's something is just is. So it's beyond acceptance, beyond putting boundaries up. Like you're putting boundaries up so that people can't hurt you, or obviously we are grown-up people, so we need to have boundaries. We're not kids. Like my best friend was, when I was growing up, the people who played in front of my house. I went out and they were my best friends. When we are grown-ups, it doesn't go that way. So we put boundaries up. Self-love is so much more than just putting boundaries up and have a bubble bath or go and do a girly day or shopping. It's a highly profound broadening that goes through you one day, and everything clicks in together. And there's actually, when you accept who you are, like the body and the soul merges together. And you're not fighting your body anymore and this earthly life. So, and that includes many things, like the way you look, where you were born to, the family you were born to, your family you have, your past mistakes you made, and some of them are like heavy mistakes. Everything, and you just kind of okay with it. And it's more like self-compassion, more like kindness to yourself. It's the total zen. Like, I am okay and I am happy, regardless what. So for me, my husband keeps teaching me still. He was my greatest teacher. He still keeps teaching me, and that's amazing. So, yep, I think I finished.
Thank you so much. We all get to know each other more and more. It's great. Oh, Christina.
Well, I'm still integrating all the beautiful things that have been said so far. And I think I can already say, I mean, self-love is supposed to be our factory setting. And we kind of learned to override that through many unhelpful upgrades.
Yeah.
Laureli, is my microphone better now? All right, cool. So I also want to briefly share a little bit about my self-love, self-compassion journey and how it brought me to today. A very long time ago, my first passion was dance, and I actually got a BA as a dance instructor in the Netherlands. And being in a dance academy is very challenging. So it's certainly where I was forced to learn the importance of self-care and self-love, and especially the loving of my body, because that was never good enough. And we do live in a culture where it's still not good enough ever. It used to be mostly women, but it's also men that just we're constantly being told that we're not good enough and we need to change ourselves. And so I did pursue a career in health. I'm a nutritionist and was very eager to teach people how to nourish themselves and take care of themselves. But after a few years working in the field, I just recognized how people were actually using, all the good information to harm themselves, right? People were, part of this toxic diet culture, or loathing their bodies, or punishing their bodies through exercise or not eating. And people were not really going into the deeper levels of themselves, connecting with their soul, maybe finding their real path and true purpose in life. And it was very hard for me to see, while I was trying to help people, they were just really doing self-harm, and the whole culture was going down in that direction. So I really tried to get people back on the right path through like body, mind, soul approach. And still I found it was very challenging. That's how I say I do yoga. So going to yoga studios, and you have all those enlightened yogis there, but they're having eating disorders, and they're shaming their body, and they feel they need to be skinny and look good in stretchy pants. So I was like, okay, what is going on? We are trying to evolve and get better, but we're actually doing the opposite through not only our actions, but also through that negative self-talk, that record that's playing in our head all the time. Even if we're like we're healers, we still have the record, and we need to constantly tell ourselves, no, we are good enough. We're perfect as we are. We don't need to compete, and we don't need to change anything. And so just seeing the struggle of people has been really, for me, that big reminder constantly to expand, how I take care of myself and how I help my clients. So we have body, mind, soul, but we also have that vibrational piece that is now finally coming to the fore in terms of self-care. And it will always kind of bring back, will always shine the light on like, where do we still not love ourselves enough? Where do we still not respect ourselves enough? And even, I don't know about the other people on the panel, when I talk to many of my clients, when I say self-love, they cringe. It's just like, ooh, which tells me that is where the work has to be right now. This is where the focus has to be right now. I do believe that, again, self-love is our factory setting. It is our true nature. It is the true nature of the soul, of the divine. We have gotten as far away from it as possible, and now we have to start the return journey. And so I think having the panel on this topic is divinely guided, and I'm excited to see what other panelists have to share and what our visitors are going to bring up as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. Yashu'a, you're next.
Well, I began this journey back in the 90s, late 90s. And during that time, I was a minister of the gospel. I was preaching. I was doing, I love the word of God, and I still do. And, but there was, I ran into some resistance when it came down to my sexual orientation. And I felt like, well, first of all, I don't believe in being hypocritical. I cannot tell you to do one thing and I do something completely different. I cannot live a double life. I'm just not a double-minded person. So I decided to come off the pulpit, not only because of that, but also because I wanted to know the creator, the spirit of all that is and all that will ever be for myself. I didn't want no medium. I don't need a medium. I don't need no disciples. I don't want a bishop, archbishop. You're talking about radical expansion? Oh yeah. So I went on a fast, 40-day fast of bread and water. And after that fast, I left home with $34 in my pocket. Now, this one thing I do know about self-love, once you walk into that frequency of self-love, you have to have a lot of courage to do this, because you're going to be called to, you're going to be set aside. You're going to be pulled out of the crowd of what you thought you was having fun with or was loving you. No, you are going to be pulled out as if you are the ugly duckling. And you're going to be set apart. You're going to be set apart, and you're going to be tried, and you're going to be, stripped, and all, it's just like fasting. You're going to go through a fasting period where you get rid of external baggage, external things that you think or you thought would aid you and assist you in your growth, your spiritual growth. But self-love requires one to establish a solid relationship with thine self. And you cannot do that with a crowd. You can't do that in a church. You have to do it within the company of your own home. It's called solitude. Yep. It's called solitude. So once you, being set apart, you're led into the wilderness of nothing but solitude. And the only people that will show up are people that you don't know, but they're there to support you, and then they move out. You cannot attach yourself to anyone. You're totally dependent on the creator of all that is and all that will ever be. All of your conversations, have it with the creator. All of your ups and downs, your temper tantrums, you got to have that with the creator, the ancestors, the things that you cannot see with your natural eyes. Your third eye has definitely got to open wide. So self-love for me, it has turned me inside out. So I'm now living my life from the inside out. And because of that, nothing happened to me. It happens for me. Everything is happening for me because it's for my good. And I just have to relax and rest in the comfort of my own divinity, for I know who I am, I know what I am, and I know how I come to serve. So that is my approach when it comes to assisting and inspiring others to do the same. Because these things that I do, and I am speaking of, we can all do. We have the gift. We have it. We have it. But we're not taught that gift. We're taught to look outside of ourselves. Looking outside of ourselves has caused so much distraction. So much distraction. And it derails us every time. Every time we go outside of ourselves, it derails us every time. So my whole thing, my whole life is all about remaining centered, staying elevated and expanding in my consciousness on a day-to-day basis, whether it's through a smile, whether it's through a handshake, whether it's through giving someone a gift, or whether it's just picking up trash. That within itself is an expansion within itself, and it shifts the consciousness in some kind of way. So we're trying to, I know for me, I'm godlike. I want the godlike characteristics, and I have to do that. I have to work on that on a day-to-day basis. And that's what I'm here to inspire others to do. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Great. Paige.
All right. Well, thank you all for sharing your stories. I feel like it's so rare for people to be so vulnerable in our day and age. And so this space created for people is really beautiful. So thank you, Laureli, for always putting different panels on for this. But I think just like everyone, it's such a personal journey and it's so different, and yet there's a lot of overlying factors. So I think a lot of times in this self-love journey, you hit some sort of rock bottom or some sort of like just complete darkness in your life. And for me, I felt like I was in darkness most of my life. At the age 7, I was contemplating suicide until I was about 19. I am very grateful that I never did anything like that took me too far. But when I was 24, my husband and I got pregnant with our first child. And during my pregnancy, we found out he was not going to live past birth. So we had an hour and a half with him. And it just, from the moment of finding out, and my husband was in another state at the time, for about 8 weeks, I was just alone in my house in darkness. And one of the beautiful things that came from that is I cried, I screamed, I felt everything that I could. And I didn't know how important that was to this self-love journey until years later, when we actually had a healthy daughter. She was about 2 years old, and I had 2 miscarriages within 4 months. And the second miscarriage, deep depression. It was everything that I did try to put aside to be a good mom that kept me in complete anxiety just hit, and it was just complete darkness for me again. What took me out of it was pushing my daughter on the swing one day, and she just looked into my eyes and I saw myself in her. It was that connection of the oneness of universal consciousness that I didn't even know existed. And seeing that and feeling her energy as part of mine, I realized I needed to make a choice. And that was stay in the darkness and let it consume me, or break out. And that's what started my self-love journey, was recognizing that I needed to be someone that could keep her going on a good path. I grew up with very emotionally unavailable parents. They still are like that. And as much as I love them, I've had to take those choices and get them away from myself because I needed emotionally available people. And so I think a big part of this self-love journey is awareness and intention. Having an awareness of self, of how you move throughout the world, what choices you make, and not necessarily always having to change it right away, but just witnessing yourself. Why did I do that? What is this? What are these words that are coming into my mind? Whose voice was that? Wasn't mine. I didn't tell myself I wasn't worthy growing up. I didn't tell myself that something was wrong with me. I heard those things. I consumed those things. And so making the intentional choice to say, this isn't serving me, I have to break away from it. And okay, why can't I break away from it? Why do I have this attachment? How can I heal that attachment? And creating these safe spaces so your nervous system can relax. I was very blessed that my husband was is someone who creates a safe enough space for me that I can cry, I can scream, I can sit in my darkness for the amount of time I need to, but he's always there to say, okay, now it's time for the choice, right? Now it's time to step out or stay in. And I think just a lot of self-love is choosing yourself. You know, I think especially as women and seeing our mothers in the generation that my mother and stepmother grew up in, there was so much sacrifice of self that they had to make that they don't really fully know who they are. And watching them go through that, I was like, I don't want to be 50 staring in the mirror, hating my body, no matter what it looks like. I want to be 50 celebrating my stretch marks that I have from carrying life within my body. I want to be 50 celebrating the laugh wrinkles I have on my face because I decided to make life joyful. And I decided to just choose myself every day. I serve myself first if I'm the one cooking. It's those little things. And I feel like to some people, it's like, well, it sounds silly, but it's those little things. It's choosing yourself to, like, Christina was saying about how you eat and the way you look at yourself. It's choosing yourself to say, I'm not going to exercise because I need to look this certain way, right? I'm going to exercise because I like the way it feels when I move my body that way. And if that's, harder exercise and you're running marathons, great. And if that's, I'm going to just go stretch at the gym, great. Whatever feels right for your body, you are the only person who's going to know what that is. No one else can decide that for you. And so it's just you choosing you all the time. Yeah.
Great. Been fun hearing you all share. Right? I'm taking notes and things as and I'll write something that you all share much more eloquently than I do. So I'll share my journey, but I guess my own version of my journey. So self-acceptance of the way I share. Yeah, and I appreciate everyone sharing stories. And again, if we want to come back and people want to share more, feel free. We can definitely do that. So some of you who know, and some of you may not know, I'm just gonna to share some bigger things as I share. My mom ended her life when I was in my 20s, and I think like maybe one lens I could see why she ended her life is she never came to accept and love herself. She grew up with a really mean, narcissistic parent, and I think she and her sister were very abused. I don't know all of how. So she never learned to love who she was, and maybe she was in so much pain. Yeah, I don't really know all of why, but I learned to push through. So I didn't learn to accept myself. In many ways, I learned just to push and not go the pathway that she did. So I'm one of those people that used to cringe. Self-love, acceptance. So for me, even to do this panel and to believe that I have something to say about this theme is a big thing. And some of my early lessons, while my mom was still here, my mom was really hard on me in many ways too. And I remember when I was in elementary school and I fiercely just made a decision, well, there's some things that are inside me and things that I think and things that I feel I'm not going to say and I'm not going to share with you, and this is mine and you can't get inside. And I said it with some ferocity of like, nope, it's mine. You can't get in here. You can try to control all kinds of other things about me. You can't get there. So that was a big thing of self-love and self-acceptance for me, really self-love and boundaries. And a similar thing with her, just a couple years before she died, the relationship with her, the way I was engaging it was toxic for me. I realized I had to choose me or choose her. So I chose me, and I'm here. So those are some of the bigger things from when I was young. And then we spin through real fast here, I guess. I've had so many layers of coming out of being queer, first thinking I was bi and then lesbian, and then maybe I wasn't completely lesbian and then non-binary, and just endless layers of accepting me. And I had lots of sexual trauma for me when I was little. I didn't realize until I was in my late 30s, and just so many layers of how that showed up in my life in ways I didn't realize, in ways that I abused myself for a while in my early 20s, not knowing, and just so many things. So having to love me, knowing that I did my best, really knowing everyone's done their best, and so feel that about me too. About so many things. I've always been rounder, more curvy body. I've been fat. Whatever words we want to use for that, it's really for me to own me. Right? And some of that comes from wounding too. I just in college, very personal information. I wanted to stop wearing a bra, and that was, not done so much. I just really didn't like, and so the whole journey of accepting my body and being okay in my body and in society and not being scared all the time. And it took me years to feel comfortable. I realized the last few years I'm neurospicy, so I might have autism. And that fits in with a general theme of me accepting me as being quirky and weird. I was having some challenges with different communities of people, and finally one colleague really was able to give me the feedback of, if I don't accept that I'm quirky and weird, I'm going to keep creating situations and choosing situations where people reject me. If I don't accept me, I'll find others to reject me too. So one of the big phrases she gave me was, what will it take? What will I choose now? How bad will I make it before I? So it's accepting that I'm quirky and weird, and then all the new layers of, articulation and understanding of that I've come to over time. So I mentioned earlier about boundaries. So really learning about yes and no, and being able to sense and feel my yes and no, and honor my yeses and nos, and the endless layers, continuous learnings I have around those things. Speaking up for what I want. You've all mentioned lots of physical care and lots other kinds of energetic care. Sleep continues to be an endless learning for me too, and eating healthy food, not eating things I'm allergic to. How much aloneness I want and how much community I want, and when I'm different from other people around me, and accepting them too, and allowing me to have what really suits me. Just taking time to breathe. Really feeling and savoring the breath in my body. Feeling my feelings, how much movement. You've all mentioned some of these things too. Part of my work with people, I do eye readings, and my aim is to have people be able to recognize and honor their own uniqueness. And at the same time, these are categories, so there are similarities we have to each other. But we each have our soul, and then growing up, and to make it here, we had to learn to take on masks typically, right? False masks to be whatever we need to get love and attention and our physical needs met. And so finding our way to let those go, to drop those masks and to be who we really are, and go through the layers and lessons of being who we are. So accepting our lessons when they show up, like I might think I've grown through something and I haven't yet. There's more things I hadn't seen yet. So how can I be self-loving during all those journeys? And part of this too is to, when things show up in a way that I think isn't what I want, when people show up in a way that I think isn't what I want, right? Things don't show up in whatever way, for me to not push against those things, for me to accept and know that this is where I am and this is why these things are here. And the more I can be loving and accepting of me and where I am on my journey of my lessons, that's how I'll experience so much more ease and acceptance of the other people and the situation, and be able to be more discerning of what I want in the future. It's by loving me more and relaxing into whatever lessons I've had here that have me make these choices. So it's a little of how I think about all these things. And you can see mine's a little bit more maybe intellectual and action oriented, and not as much the feeling emotional flavor as everyone else. And yeah. Anyone have anything else you want to share about the theme or anything else about your journey? I know as we all go through and share, right, it evolves what we share, and so sometimes we'll think of other things we want to communicate in the space.
I'd like to add something, even though I'd love to add to everybody that spoke, because it's been very inspiring and heart-opening for me. I just want to add on to what Paige said about, the dark night of the soul, which I'm sure all of us have had at least one encounter. And I remember the last time I was in that dark moment, and I actually would call it the void, like the abyss, standing at that, looking down in the abyss. And I felt like I wasn't planning to kill myself. I wasn't suicidal at that level, but there was just something so wrong. And I felt myself purposely dropping into the void. And I think what the significance was that I allowed the part of me to die that was never really me, or was just not serving me anymore. And it was a conscious choice on a soul level to plunge into that darkness, come what may. And I think it was also an act of self-love and and that's after that I fully stepped onto my path. So I just wanted to share that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Anita.
Yeah, I think we, as I look at everybody, I think there's always a part that we talk about our bodies. Like every single one of us has something to do with the body. So it's like expectations. I learned not to expect anything. It's not just about my body, but how we change the body image and how we change our relationships. We have to let expectations go. Like, of course, there are some natural expectations, well, I don't know. Well, we know what are those, but there are those that they are actually poison, or they blind us from the reality. Like, let's say I want to lose weight, okay? And I hate myself because I can't lose weight, because I have to lose some weight. So, and then I put that expectation aside, like, no, I don't have to lose weight. I am perfect as I am. And it's not just an ego. I can't explain this, but once you put expectations aside, solutions come to you. like somebody I will meet, a friend would come up with some ideas, or that person lost some weight and they just have an awesome way, or it's just an example. And sometimes when you can't put the expectations aside in a relationship, and you see the actual person, who that person is you are with, or in a friendship, you will see qualities that you never seen before in them, because your expectations are not blinding you. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like somehow we are wired that if we don't allow the senses to let that perception coming in, we are not noticing things that is right in front of us, and the expectations are the obstacles.
I think a lot of times too, it can feel like, you know, someone will say, well, you just do this, or you just have to release those expectations. And I'm sure you all could agree that like, it's so much practice. And I wanted to make sure to say, like, this is a never ending journey. Like 4 nights ago, it was like the third night I bawled myself to sleep. And like, there was a lot of negative self-talk and a lot of things I was going through and dealing with because of the environment that we were in at that time. And just making sure to remember that it is a continuous journey, a continuous discipline of releasing those expectations. And like Laureli said, there's gonna be a lot of times where you're like, I've healed this, I'm good, I'm set, and you're in a different environment again, and you're not fully connected to that space of self-love, and the things start coming back. And maybe you don't catch it right away and some time goes by, but just remembering, like, have grace for yourself through this whole process, because it is such a beautiful journey and it's never ending, and you can just continue to go deeper. I thought I hit the top of it last year of this self-love, like this radical self-love. And now, after going through those nights of difficulty and coming back into this space again, I have released so much more in that darkness, that I see so much more of myself now, and I can recognize what I'm passing on to my daughter. The relationship between my husband and I grows every time I grow internally, and so like my whole environment will shift, but that it's always this, you know, ebbing and flowing of kind of losing yourself and finding yourself again in something new. It's these I don't have the word, but these adventures, you know, that you can go on, and this quest, that's the word, you know, it's this quest. It's dark, it's scary, it's, you know, maybe there's a lot of adrenaline or cortisol because you're dealing with sort of a little bit of survival mode in that space. And, you know, then you can kind of flow out of that as you learn your lesson and find your safer space again, and let your nervous system relax enough to find that new space of love. And, you know, it's this constant journey through life.
Yeah, like with for example, grieving, probably you are familiar with that. There's always like the grief waves just out of nowhere, and it kicks my backside like bad. But I learned to ride it, and again, it comes from a place like I always have to remind myself that I signed up for this, and this is mine to heal. Like, and I kind of always, and also remind yourself that we are here. Like, this is another cliche, but that's so true. We come here to learn. We come here on earth to learn. This is a school. We are God's children. And the very reason we are here to learn these lessons. We are not here to be perfect. If we want to be perfect, we wouldn't be born here. And so I always have to remind myself, like, I signed up for this, and you just kind of ease into those waves, kind of. The more you practice, the more you heal, your nervous system heals, the easier the ride. Please always remind yourself, like, this is why we are here for, and it's easier to accept that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the conversation on expectations, and that's where Buddhism is really big on, right? The real cause of suffering is the expectation that there shouldn't be any suffering. And I think if we can just not expect the ride to be smooth, then there's less pain. There's still going to be pain, but it's going to be at least not based on the expectation that things should be easy all the time. So thank you for bringing up expectations. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, for example, if you're in a relationship and you have got certain expectations to your other half for certain time, like let's say you go out, you expect him to come on time, and he doesn't turn up on time. But this is just a very silly example, and you are nervous and you need to go, and this is something very important. And then this other person is late because he had a very an important conversation with somebody else that would define your future. But we don't see it right there and then. We don't see, if you have got expectations, we playing God. So I don't know. I'm trying to bring it through to you. Anyways.
I just want to jump in and just remind everyone in the audience that if you want to ask a question of the panel, we are open for questions. There's information in the chat for how you could pay to ask a question. It's sliding scale. It's 20 to 28. You choose how much you want to pay, and it's $12 for BIPOC folks as a step of making reparations. So if you'd like to ask a question, please, if you could pay first. If you have any questions on how to pay, please let me know in the chat. I can help you. And yeah, let us know that you paid, and we'll pull you up here for your question. Go ahead, Paige.
I was going to say, I also think that expectation can get tricky, because as I've been going through this journey and realizing more what I deserve now for myself, but also what I had deserved growing up from my parents, when I met them with things I was going through and was kind of shot down and just constantly told I was too sensitive, too weird. You know, Laureli was talking about being quirky and everything. I hid so much of that, and it still came through because it's who I am, but I hid so much of it. And when I met my husband, learning that his favorite things about me are all the things that I tried to hide because I was told they weren't enough, right? But recognizing, you know, you do deserve love, and you deserve that from yourself, and not to expect it necessarily from people who haven't shown it, right? I get caught in a cycle of wanting that love and acceptance from people in my family who I know I'll never get it from. But also recognizing that there is an expectation I have of my husband to love me fully in all my darkness, because I give that to him. And that is something we have discussed, though, right? It's not just this expectation that is going unheard, like you were saying, Anita, with going on a date, right? It wasn't like a total conversation set in stone. These are things, though, that, you know, as you create these relationships, or this relationship with yourself, when you witness the relationships around you, you have an expectation that you will get what you are giving, because you got to talk about that and you got to put that out there. But you have to talk to yourself about that. What do I expect from myself on a day-to-day basis? How am I going to show up for myself? And I think what's kind of fascinating about the expectations of yourself is, as you begin to love yourself, I don't know if you guys all feel the same, I expect a lot in terms of, you know, when I catch myself, I expect that, you know, if I catch myself in a negative self-talk wheel, I will take myself out of that. And I expect that for myself. But I don't ever expect myself to always stay in it anymore. I don't always expect myself to have to meet this bar every day. And sometimes, you know, when you talk about those waves of grief, and I think we grieve everything. And I think, you know, even if it's a job you didn't get, you're going to grieve that. And I think you gotta feel that, you gotta grieve it. And riding the waves is just a beautiful way to put it, because the waves sometimes will be huge, they'll be small, they'll crash over you, you'll feel like you're drowning. But as you go through this journey and you kind of teach yourself and show yourself, like, okay, I can show up for myself, I can get out of this little thing. Okay, now I can kind of take something bigger on. You don't fear those spaces as much. because you have shown yourself you will show up for yourself. I kind of went on a there, but
No, it's great. Let's say I guess the word I like to use for myself, and part of it is like listening to you and hearing you, and I wonder like, where am I? How much of this have I integrated? Is like, am I worthy? Do I know that I'm worthy of giving myself sleep or eating food that's healthy, or right, having attention from someone else that I want, and so that I ask for it and I choose someone that wants to give that to me.
yeah, and recognizing that like you were worthy in the womb. You were worthy as you emerged into this.
It's whether I own that I'm worthy. Totally. Yes.
And I think that's such a beautiful word. And I don't know if you've ever said it to someone who doesn't feel it, but you've just, you like intensely say it. I said it to my sister recently, and the look on her face of like, I could tell she didn't feel it herself, but it was like a recognition of, am I like allowed, do I have permission, to feel worthy? And I think sometimes we have to give that to ourselves. Like, you have permission. You only have to give that to yourself. No one else is in charge of that for you. You are the most important person to you on this planet.
If I don't believe that I'm worthy and I'm not willing to receive, accept, experience, there's no way anyone can give that to me. I have to be willing to allow.
Sure.
You have any questions, people watching?
I know. So we talk about all kinds of great things. So sometimes people come just to be in the space and to learn. And maybe I should say a few things just before we do take some questions, and we can keep going on the conversation. And if we have questions, we can ask questions and answer our own questions too. So this is a great opportunity for everyone to learn from all that's asked and all that's answered, whether or not you ask a question. It's a great opportunity to practice opening your intuition. So as questions are asked, and even now before, you might want to be scribbling and taking notes and drawing with whatever shows up, and you might discover that whatever's coming through you is we're answering in similar ways. So you're having insight come through you too. So it's confirmation that we're all tapping into the same things. And then if you do ask a question, we want to honor you in our answer. So if we go deeper than you want us to go in this context, that's a group and recorded and can be published online. Or we talk about topics you don't want us to talk about. When you ask this question, please interrupt us and give us guidance. We want to stay in a way that honors you in the way we answer. Oh yeah. So go ahead, anyone that wanted to share. Yes, something else too. And yeah, and you can ask questions about anything, not just about the theme. But yeah, we can ask questions of ourselves too.
I want to get back to Paige on the analogy of the surfing. So, right, surfing the waves. Even if you're a perfect surfer and there's great waves, you're still going to get wet.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
And you want to get wet. That's the whole point of being on the surfboard, being in the element of water. So, and I think that is really true for all of our souls. To be on earth, we keep saying that incarnating on earth is the hardest school of all for souls. So it takes a tremendous amount of courage. And at the same time, it's also a tremendous honor to be here, and especially during this time. So I often find looking at the bigger picture and our role and how we can serve here can really help with that feeling of worthiness, or redirect us from this, like, am I good enough? And my body in this, like, if we're like, I'm here to serve, we have stuff to do, like all of these other more external things are falling away. And as Yashu'a said, right, it all brings you back to your inner core. And when you are resting in that inner knowing and inner love, there is nothing that can make you feel not good enough, because you are anchored in your truest essence, and that is unwavering, I would think.
Yeah, may I add about, I think for many of us, when it comes to worthiness, because I think all of us are old enough now to understand that we all have got the track records of bad decisions. Yeah, from our childhood or from our teenage years, or when we were younger, we made some really stupid decisions. And so I think for the many of us, it's like a record, like I prove myself that I am not worthy because I just didn't make the right decisions. So how I can move forward if my track record is that bad? And then we ask the question, like, am I worthy at all? Because my record says I'm not, and it's not conscious.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
a lot of that's, oh, sorry.
Yeah, and so what I'm trying to say with this, like, this is where self-respect come in. Like, I made let's say you got divorced and you had a very nasty divorce and you don't want to talk to your husband anymore because he was an a-hole, okay? But people, and you have a child, but people don't realize you made that decision. That was yours. You need to respect that. And that man was so long part of your life that it was part of your precious life. Just because of that, he is precious, regardless how you ended up. Or when we were young, we did some stupid things, and we still look at it back like, oh my God, like I hope I don't meet those people anymore. Like I move away from town or something. That was part of your precious life that you made a decision on those acts. And we need to love that. And I got to understand this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Like you can look back and say every decision I made has been just the right one, because at that moment in time, it was the best possible way forward for us. That was what was available. And so I don't have regret. I don't think, oh, I wish I did. No, everything I did, I know brought me here. And that is that part of self-love where it's really embodied, where it feels good to know that even when we have those relationships or we allow things, no, we chose and it was the best thing for our journey. And that's where a lot of liberation can take place. So I love that you bring that as an example.
Yeah, but sometimes when we say like, okay, that those were the decisions that made me who I am today, but maybe who I am today, I'm not happy with. Maybe I'm going on a rough journey right now. I'm going the surfing on the downswing. And maybe when you go through a trauma, everything from the past is like a fire, like a string of fire. It goes back to all your trauma points in the past. It inflames everything else that you had a trauma on. Even those things that you thought you healed. So I'm talking about that mindset when you're not in a good mindset and you look back at your life like, oh my God, what have I done? And these are the moments when we say, no, my life is precious. Those decisions were precious. It's when we feel good. Like I'm feeling good. Like, yeah, those are the things that happened then because now I am feeling good, and all that shit I had to go through put me here. But then we should say that when we down, because how our nervous system is set, everything gets inflamed again. All those last traumas will haunt you.
Yes, so some people do things like put appreciations on little strips of paper in a jar or something like that, or a little box. And so in the moments when you're down, you can pull them out and read them.
I did a blog talk the other day, and I did it based on this saying that we have. Oh, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So it wasn't just that one straw. It was several straws leading up to that one particular straw. So in saying that, you cannot have a breakthrough and you cannot really deepen your self-love without recognizing that if you did not have all of those other straws, you would not be where you are, and I only say this because I have experienced a lot in my life, ups and downs, ins and outs. However, I would not go back and change nothing in those experiences because it would change the flavor of the cake. I want the cake to taste a certain way. So if I go back and I take away, oh, the time that I was molested, oh, the time that I was raped, my cake would probably flop. It probably wouldn't even stand strong. So, you know, for me, my self-loving is when I can say, oh, this hurts so bad, but I'm so grateful that I can feel the pain. I can feel the pain because there are some people who cannot feel pain. They cannot feel pain, so they cannot break through it. And I have the opportunity to break through it. And I think as we deepen our self-love for the self and for our relationship with our divine self, all the other stuff that all that fluff, it will just fall away because the frequency of who you are changes. So you attract different things to reinforce your frequency, your vibration. So I love the idea that Christina stated that, you know, these things that we've experienced back in our lives, we need to have them, and we made those right choices. Even though it didn't feel like it was a right choice, today it was the best choice ever. It was the best choice for me ever, because had I not made that choice, I would not be here speaking the way that I speak, and I would not be on this panel, for one. I would not have attracted this experience into my life. I wouldn't have access to different aspects of myself as a divine being. So, hey, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna take up your bed and walk? That's all you gotta do. Take up your bed and walk.
And to also acknowledge, I mean, I love it so much, but also to acknowledge, Anita, and the feelings. If you're saying you can still see that fire, you know, that going back, it's actually a gift, because now we have the tools to actually heal
right
in the quantum field. So if you know where the original fire is, now you have the tools to go and actually put out the fire all the way to the beginning, and it's going to transform your current experience and moving forward. So wow,
good stuff. Good stuff.
Kind of having our cake and eating it too, right? We get the lesson and the richness and the learnings, and then we also get to heal. Oh yeah, and just it's fine if there's a little bit more we want to share, and we do have a question. So when we get there, we'll yeah. Is there anything else anyone wants to share, and kind of the pattern we were on of where we were going?
I'd love to chime in, just because I've been kind of sitting back and listening to everyone, and it's so great. And there's so many moments that I wanted to chime in, and I also tend to kind of let others share first. So just kind of a recap from everything, what I'm hearing. There's so much about this feeling the full spectrum of the human experience and humanity, which is what allows us to really move through into our light and to be who we are. Without those experiences, we wouldn't be who we are. And I really can see that in the example of each of the practitioners here on the panel. And it's just it's a beautiful thing to remember. And it reminds me of the spiral, you know, and so it's like you go around the rounds and you might come across something that you feel like, oh, here I am again with this particular challenge. But really, if we remember that we're on this path of evolution and spirits in this human experience, we are seeking that evolution and that growth in this evolved way, that when we come across that same pattern, it's really seeing ourselves at a level that is a little bit more heightened. We've learned a little bit more. We're applying more tools. We're loving ourselves more. And so we're on this trajectory that's both very grounding and integrated, and also shining our light brighter each day. And I know we have a question here, so I want to give space to that. And I also just want to make note of the energetics of self-love, which is tuning into who am I as a resonant vibratory being, and what is my energetic signature, and what does that feel in me as I bring that into the world. And that is truly unique for each of us, and it's really a gift.
Yes, great. I appreciate you putting your voice in the space and the dance with all of us. All right, are we ready to move to a question? All right, Tracy, do you want to come up on the panel with us on stage? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Hi. All
Hi.
right.
I didn't even prep my camera, so it's getting this all loveliness here, right here.
Right. So you get these opportunities for love all together. Yeah. So what is your question for us?
I've been, yeah, I've been trying to figure out how to form it so that it's short. I've been on a very deep dive. There's been a physical situation with my body with this. It feels like a rubber band is pressing around my rib cage area, and so I've been down a whole bunch of dead ends in my search. And the last just recently, intuitive direction I've gotten to look at is that it's being there because I'm not forgiving myself. There, and then I immediately thought of, I was just diagnosed with diabetes a few years ago, and evidently, it's not even type 1 or type 2. It's called monogenetic, and it was something I was probably born with, and then kind of goes away and then comes back when you're older. And I've really been, I think, I just, because this started shortly after that, and it's been very overwhelming to take this on at an older age. But also, I think I go back and I think, okay, what if I had taken better care of myself? What if I had been exercising? The COVID thing, I got really lazy and worked from home, and I didn't, and that's about when it came on. So I'm really kind of beating myself up about that. I don't like the restrictions that this diabetes causes in my life. Like, you feel like you're tethered then. And so I'm dealing with all of that, and that might be the restriction, that I'm feeling. Might just be, when my sister yelled at me a while, about 4 years ago. I don't know, but it seems that I've struggled with self-love all my life. And I feel like, and it's lovely to hear what you guys say, that sometimes you do get better, because I feel like I'm on, I got it. And then the next time something happens, and it's like, okay, I don't got it. Like, man. So is that, please ask a question if I'm, rambling too much and not clear with my, okay. So my question, what do I do? How do I release? I'm kind of, this is elusive to me. This beating myself up and not forgiving myself, just the thread of conversation that must be going on. It seems to be a little elusive. I'm not really sure what to do and how to make things better.
Yeah. Appreciate you sharing and asking. Practitioners, if you want to answer, just raise your hand in Zoom so I know. And Anita's ready to go. Maybe I'm just to share a couple things, and I'll hand the floor to Anita. It's interesting that you said you were with your sister and your sister was yelling at you. So I think about your eyes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think about your eyes, and I can see how perfectionism has been a lesson for you lifelong. That's part of your soul journey and in your eyes. But then also your sister yelling at you, and that has me think about your family of origin. And I'm wondering if you have narcissism in your family. So
Probably, yes. I've been told that from describing my mom and that particular sister, that yes, both of them.
yeah, and so that's a huge setup for this. And so and I'll come back. But I think a big journey here is learning to feel angry, healthy anger. Healthy anger is connected to the
I
I'm
wasn't
worthy.
allowed to.
I know you
Yeah,
weren't, and it was not safe. And I think that's all being stuffed inside and not expressing, and that the restriction in part is like, certainly a symbolic restriction is keeping all that in. And it's being willing to let that out as part of what's going to be part of opening.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm just making notes.
Yeah, so there's a
Thank
little bit
you.
where I was
Thank you,
going.
Lorelei. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so Anita, and then whoever else wants to answer, just raise your hand in Zoom. Maybe Christina, and then I'll know what order to go. Okay, so
question.
we'll have Anita and then Christina. Oh, Paige. Oh, do you have a question? Who has a question?
Yeah, I just had a question, maybe that helps all of us. Tracy, could you describe when you said that band around your rib cage? Would you be able to describe it or show it on the body where
Yeah, like-
you might feel it?
Yeah, let me stand up. Here we go. Right through here, all the way front and back. And it feels like just this rubber band is just constricting. And it
And-
started out just, coming on every once in a while, and it's gradually gotten to where it's just constant.
And can body
Or,
can body
all the
workers
medical, nothing.
can body workers sense something physical happening too?
Yes, but I've had no resolution yet with anything there. That's what had me start to look, oh gosh, maybe it's with me, my own self acceptance or forgiveness. And
My partner just got home and she does structural integration, so I'm going to run around the corner and ask her too. And practitioners, we normally would do just like 2.5 minutes, and I give you a signal, but don't worry, you can take a little bit longer. We've got, unless we get a lineup of questions. So go ahead. So I have Anita and Christina, were you ready to? And then Paige? Okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay. Is it me now?
Yes,
Is
it
it-
is. Go ahead. Yeah.
So I just would like to ask, please, like, are you in pain? Are you in a lot of pain?
it sometimes it does come in and it come in further constricting, and it can be more painful. Now it just is, maybe because I've had it for a couple of years now, it just is inconvenient and uncomfortable.
Okay. So
Maybe I've gotten used to it.
Yeah. So why I'm asking this, because when you are physically in pain, it makes you feel very hopeless. Like like when we are in pain, hopelessness kicks in, and that self-talk is somehow rewired that way. So I would say when you know you are in pain, that's when that voice, just if your mindset about it, then just watch how your inner conversation kicks in. And also, I would like you to do something with me now for 1 minute, if I
Sure.
may. So if you are you in a good seated position?
I'm sorry, ask that one more time.
Are you in a good seated position?
Yes, I am.
Right hand here on your sternum, here on your right hand, left hand underneath, just underneath your rib cage. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, relax the body. We're not gonna go into like a deep relaxation or anything. And please repeat it after me. Okay? I am so very happy and grateful now
I am
that,
so very happy and grateful now
that I am very healthy,
that I am very healthy,
strong and capable,
strong and capable,
calm, smart, happy, and beautiful.
calm, smart, happy, and beautiful.
We will do it like 3 more times. I am so very happy and grateful now
I am so very happy and grateful now
that I am very healthy,
I'm very healthy,
strong and capable,
strong and capable,
calm, smart, happy, and beautiful.
calm, happy, smart, and all.
Beautiful. How are you feeling?
Calmer
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can shorten it because it's maybe too long for you. So I am so very happy and grateful now
I am so very happy and grateful now
that I am very healthy,
that I am very healthy,
strong, calm,
strong,
calm.
and calm.
Yeah. Okay. One more. I am so very happy and grateful now
I am so very happy and grateful now
that I am very healthy,
that I am very healthy,
strong, and calm.
strong, and calm.
Okay. And just a reminder about your breathing. When you breathe in shorter, breathe out longer. That comes. So when you practice this technique, for example, you always watch your breathing. You breathe in shallower and breathe out longer, and it calms the body down.
Okay. Thank you.
Christina, were you gonna answer next?
Yes, I wasn't sure if Tracy needed a moment to.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I wrote a couple of things down so I remember.
Good, good, good.
Thank you. Yeah.
So,
Whenever it is done.
so Tracy, what I was getting was, especially when you talked about the yelling and the band around your rib cage. So for me, that felt very physical, and I got liver and kidneys with you. So liver is where we store the anger. And I feel for you, there might be anger still locked in the liver from all timelines. And that's also inherited from the family line itself. So anger is an invitation, and kidneys respond. It's really about the worry and the fear. And I think there is a fear maybe to own and connect with the anger because it's very fierce. And right, it can be very, we're taught as women, especially, be sweet and soft and all of that. And if we have this like primal, I got the word primal anger with you, that might need to be released. And on a practical recommendation, I got acupuncture for you. Acupuncture is wonderful for clearing, especially the meridians around the liver. So if that's something of interest, that might be a practical tool for you. And on the spiritual level, I want to do a brief repeat after me, similar to Anita, and you to just repeat what I say. And then I want to see which of those feels the most difficult for you to say. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay.
I am entitled to feel anger.
I'm entitled to feel anger. Yeah, I got choked up on that one.
Okay, good. We keep going. We go fast. We'll remember. I own my anger.
I own my anger.
I embrace anger for the lessons it teaches and has taught me.
I embrace anger for the lessons it teaches and have taught me. Yeah, okay.
Right. I express my anger fully.
I express my anger fully.
And I give back any anger.
And I give back any anger.
That does not belong to me.
That does not belong to me.
And so I am free.
And so I'm free. The first one and the last one.
Okay, so the first one was the hardest.
It was hard. I got my throat chakra got hit, but then that last one hit me in the right in the middle of where the band is.
Mm-hmm. And that's gonna be
Giving
closer.
back the anger.
Giving back. Okay. So then I know we can't do full sessions here, but I think really working on the entitlement to feel anger, which has a lot to do with what we talked about today, right? Allowing ourselves, loving ourselves with those emotions that we might deem not right, and also sorting out for yourself, which is really your true anger that you can clear versus anger that you have maybe empathically taken on from people in your life, and maybe start with your family and your sister.
Yeah, I think there's some of that all jumbled up in there.
And the last piece I can offer maybe as another practical for forgiveness, which again comes in links to the anger, is you probably all know the Hawaiian practice of Ho'oponopono, which you can find even YouTube videos where they just have, it's like 4 sentences repeated with music, and listen to that as you fall asleep. I've done that for myself during a very,
cool.
very difficult time of my life. And in a way, when we're falling asleep, our brain waves open and we're very receptive. So that might be a nice and very soothing song or music and affirmation to play at night to help.
Great. Thanks, Christina.
You're very welcome, Tracy. All the best.
And I know Anita just put hers in the chat. If you can put the phrase, if you've got it, Christina, too, that you came up with in the chat, that would be great. All right, we've got Paige and then Yashu'a, I think, had their hand up. Oh, and Dana. Okay, I know I saw Yashu'a first, so yeah, great.
I first wanted to say thank you so much for coming on here and being vulnerable, because it's one thing for us on the panel to do something, for you to come forward and share this with us. I just wanted to say thank you for allowing us to be a part of your journey.
Thanks.
When you began speaking, I want you to have an awareness of the way you speak about yourself, because immediately you drew attention to your neck and your body. And then when you stood up, you're like, oh, and you drew attention again to it as if we were going to judge you. It's like you were calling it out first. And that might be something from your childhood that people called you out on stuff. So you decided to start calling it out first. That's something I did. I feel very connected to you on like a kindred level, childhood sort of feeling. Because it took me until my son died for me to feel anger, and I still hated feeling it. And it was this past year that I started allowing that emotion to come out. And so a practical thing you can do is, especially to get that throat chakra moving, is to scream. And I don't mean just like, I mean, go somewhere out in nature. I like to yell into waterfalls. Absorbs it for me. And so I go on, if I go out onto a hike, I went to a Horsetail Falls. Even though it's a very public place, my friend and I went there. We ground our energy into the earth. We thank Mama Gaia for holding us strong. When we make sure we feel our roots come in from our feet. And then my friend and I told each other, you get one scream. So you don't get to go do it over again. And you just allow everything that just really pisses you off to come up. Do not hold back. No one else is going to know what you're thinking. No one else has to know what you're screaming for, why you're letting this out, and just feel it from your feet rise up through your body. And when it reaches and you feel it, just primal, everything from, and you can journal about it before, start getting mad, let it, feel it, move your body. We shake our bodies, it's a lot of somatic movement, and just, like shake everything. It doesn't matter what you look like, feel it all rise up and just scream. And it very likely will bring you to tears. But when you talk about release, my Merkaba Awakening, my business, my whole thing is release, connect, create. And that's the whole part of the release is so important for your physical health. And so when you talk about that band and people were talking about different parts of your body that would be associated with, I might not be the best person to tell you exactly what, organs and everything. And I'm glad that someone was able to. But I know that a lot of health issues can be tied to something energetic, because I had no reason that we should have had as many losses as we had. And it took us over a year to conceive our last daughter. But I did healing connection to my body. And I told myself constantly that I am powerful enough to heal my own self. And so to remember that as well, that you are such a powerful being. You are not just human, right? We are these bodies, but we are so much more than that. We are literally, science tells us, we have stardusts in our, system, our cells. And so you can change yourself on a cellular level. So I recommend finding somewhere where you feel safe enough to scream, where you feel safe enough to feel these crazy, beautiful, tough emotions. And then after that, connect to earth, connect to yourself, rest, drink lots of water, and then allow yourself to create something, connect to that inner child that didn't get the opportunity to just be who she was and accept herself and be accepted, and find something from your childhood that you really connected to and really enjoyed, and allow yourself the space to do that. Maybe something someone told you you're not supposed to do or not allowed to like, or, and just kind of tap into that little girl again and have some fun, play with her, be her.
That makes a lot of sense from other things that people have said to me too about the connecting back to the little girl that kind of, yeah,
inner child
washed. Yeah.
I'm gonna just put my website down there, and if you end up having any questions, please feel free to email me about inner child work. I have a meditation that's on YouTube that you're welcome to try out.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you again for letting us be a part of your journey.
Thanks, Paige.
And I just put some of your info in the chat. If you want to add more, feel free. So we have Yashu'a and then Dana.
Okay. Do you have a support system? Do you have people who are very close to you that you can really feel safe with?
The closest person I have is my husband. And he's been very supportive and really cool as through all this exploration. I've tried to distance myself from my sisters at this point. And then I'm starting to find a new tribe of people to hang with. And I've done that in a couple different, but they're all kind of new connections.
Okay, good. Okay, so what I'm sensing here is there's a lot of fear there to express this anger that you may feel like you need to express towards your sister or whoever. Standing up for yourself, speaking up for yourself. You don't do it. You want to do it, but you don't do it. And when you don't do it, you feel guilty. And you harbor that guilt. And it goes, all of its energy, and it goes back into your system, which is why it's in the solar plexus area. That's where your I am, your power, your ability to do the thing that needs to be done so that you become a better person, okay, for not only yourself, but for humanity as a whole. Let's see here. Okay, yes, this self-talk, you have to change the dialogue in which you have with yourself. This conversation that you have with yourself, that's not even your conversation. It's a conversation that somebody done, a program that someone has placed into you, and that program is running itself within your being. Going back to your solar plexus, the stomach area, the abdominal area, call back your power. Call back the child, begin to heal the child within. Call all of that power back. It's yours. You are worthy. You are worthy. Okay? You are loved. You are divinely loved. And you are here to express more love to people who are ready to receive it. So the more you deepen this love for yourself, you change the frequency of who you are. What do I mean by frequency? I'm talking about the energy. So when you change that energy, your sister, she's going to fade away because she's not going to be able to stay in your presence because your energy has changed. But you cannot feel guilty for that. You cannot feel guilty for that. You have to get the courage, the power to keep it moving. Just keep it moving. Keep loving yourself. Forgive yourself. And just know that the pain that you're feeling is nothing more than an indicator. It is not who you are. It is an indicator that something needs to be paid attention to. Drop the self-talk, through the self-talk, affirmations, drop the guilt. There's nothing to be afraid of. Fear is nothing but false evidence that appears to be real. It's fake. And half of the time you create it in your mind. You create a whole horror story in your own mind. Stop that. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. Love on yourself just a little bit more every day. Every day, do something. I don't care how small it is, but do something that will deepen your love for yourself, because what I sense is that you have turned away from yourself to accommodate others. You have turned away. So now it's time to get reacquainted with oneself. Okay? Love you much.
Thank you. Yeah, that was when I was 7, I got into major trouble because I yelled at that particular sister, or stood up for myself against that particular sister who was younger. And even though was a bully then and is a bully still today, and I was told because she was older, or because I'm older, I can't, you know, I have to be responsible. I can't. So that's, yeah, you hit right. All of you are hitting right on all that. So it has nothing to do with the diabetes thing. Okay, good.
You're too sweet. You're too sweet.
See if your video wants to turn back on to your video.
Yeah, it looked like I had a little wobble in my internet connection. How
Okay,
lovely
great.
is that? Yeah.
Yeah, and Dana wants to share.
Thanks.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
Yeah, I just want to second what Paige was saying and thanking you for coming forward with this and being open to receive from all of us. And I really appreciated all of the guidance and wisdom that everybody has offered. And as I was tuning into you talking, I was getting little tidbits, which already were spoken to quite a lot. And so I think I'd like to focus on that second phase that Paige was addressing around, you know, once you go through that allowance of the anger and in all of the different suggestions that you received of really releasing, of really moving through that, then what fills the space that you've released. So that's where I focus on. And I'm going to tune in here and just connect to guidance coming through me and into the field, your field. And so I'll close my eyes for most of when I'm talking, but also open and pop out and make sure that you're still with me. So I'm just going to take a moment to connect in here. And can you say your full name for me just once, please?
Tracy Davidson.
Thank you. Yeah, and so the first image I get is a young version of you, and there's this like light that's bubbling up, and it gets it gets almost like, as you were describing that band there, it gets stopped at some point, like there's a roof on the light coming up. And really highlighting that this light that's in you, that's here to express, the words that I'm hearing are, look at me, and this desire to be seen in your light, this desire to be seen in your joy, in your natural expression, and how that was so much capped through the experiences that you had in your childhood, where it wasn't safe to be that, as you mentioned, being the older sister and having to just step into that place of responsibility as opposed to the joy and the play. And there's a lot there that is still with you, but yet almost kind of just like a little bit pushed or capped is the feeling. And when I talk about it, I sense the solar plexus very constrained, like you were talking about. And so what I'm hearing, the guidance coming through to help you kind of shift on an energetic field, part of this constriction is to look towards your light and look towards the energy flowing from your heart center. And then we'll go up to the energy of your higher self. And so once you're done taking notes, I can just take you through this brief guided meditation if that feels good to you.
Sure.
Great.
No, I love everything that all of you guys have been sharing with me. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, you're welcome. And so just connecting in to your own inner world in whatever way you'd like to do that. So maybe it's eyes closed, or maybe it's a soft eyes, gaze open. Yeah. Going inside and feeling the base of your spine and your sit bones and the seat that you're upon. Feeling your feet touching the ground, the connection to earth. Becoming aware of the different levels and experience and levels and energetic frequencies of your being. So we have the root chakra here at the base, a lot of the physical experiences. We have moving up your energy central energy channel up through your spine, then the sacral chakra. Just waiting for the word. And I'm hearing that you've done practices with chakras, and so you're aware. So this is good. And we're not going to spend much time on the first three here, moving up towards past the solar plexus. And connecting in now with your heart chakra in whatever way that feels natural for you. And the idea here, what I'm seeing is this beautiful waterfall, this cascading of energy. And so really knowing your own power and your agency here of letting the energy from your heart and the truth of who you are and the truth of your vibration to flow down from your heart center and cascade into these other centers that are asking for your love. And being aware of this energy channel that is this conduit for your own energy, your kundalini, your life force. It can flow in both directions. And right now, this particular practice that I'm being guided to teach you is letting that energy from your heart cascade down. So maybe there's a sensation or an image that you get with this experience, or a particular physical experience. Just noticing that as you keep your awareness and your focus on that streaming of your heart energy into these other centers, into the solar plexus, expanding into this center with the truth of who you are. Maybe taking a couple breaths into that lower belly and solar plexus region, the diaphragm that sometimes feels constricted, just letting that gentle breath massage those edges there. And continuing letting your heart energy cascade down through your central energy channel and into the sacral chakra, the lower belly, your womb center. Filling this space with your own heart energy, your own light. Letting it ripple out and inform all of the organs and cells and the surrounding energy of your own vibration of love, truth. And continuing to let that energy flow and stream down, central energy channel now down to the root chakra, the base, spine. Like you're filling up your cup, you're pouring this beautiful energy, filling up these spaces here with your own vibration, your own unique frequency. Whatever excess wants to just kind of drain off after this clearing, you can envision your central energy channel continuing out the base of your spine and connecting in with the deep sacred earth, the center of the earth, and just letting anything that is ready to be released flow down through this channel, which is received lovingly and transmuted by the earth. Whenever that process feels complete, we'll go ahead and just take a couple clearing breaths. So in through the nose and then out with the relaxed jaw and mouth, out the mouth. So I got the time signal here, and so I'll just wrap up. This is something that you can practice, and to whatever degree you're able to tap into now is great. And then also as a tool to use after you go through that release and the expression of the anger and validating those parts that are there as well. When you empty yourself, this is what you can fill yourself with. And there's more to this, and this is a great little nugget here, and this is about the time that I have to offer you. So yeah, thank you for being here, and I hope that all of our guidance serves you and on your journey of self-love and health and freedom.
Thanks, Tina.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
everyone. Yeah, this is helpful, giving me some, well, just to reaffirm really the central point of the thing that's going on, but also then what to do. And all these are good tools. So thank you. It sounds like I need to go find somewhere to go scream.
Yeah, I think screaming is a great thing, or like lion's pose. I used to do it in the shower or scream on the freeway, but I knew that I would stay grounded in my body. So you want to be somewhere safe. But lions, I do a version of lion's pose, not necessarily the way it's supposed to be done, but and opening up your throat. So letting you curl your tongue down towards your chin, like expelling the things that you had to take in that you didn't want.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's a good word. Okay.
Yeah. And
Get that.
I ran and asked my partner if I can. So she mentioned that there's a gastric band that's right here.
Okay.
So these are soft tissue bands that kind of like hold things together in our body. So there's a gastric band right there. So there really might be a physically tight thing. And a structural integration practitioner or a Rolfer or an osteopath, those are people that can help you physically with it. But if you're not shifting the beliefs around it, right? I had stuff like that when I hadn't faced my sexual trauma, and there was stuff that none of the body workers, first a Rolfer, and then she sent me to an osteopath. They couldn't shift what was happening in me, and it was all related to my sexual trauma and my pelvis. And so I had to work through and shift all that stuff so that my body would feel more at ease and stay in a place that felt at ease to me, so I could feel safe having my body be in that position.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So Lorelai, you're saying that it would make sense that I need to do both things.
Yes, beliefs and body work may be supportive too. Yeah, so both of these
Okay,
things.
got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and just in the line of where others were saying, I'll just offer a few other things. If you knew your sister were totally okay, right? If she were just totally okay. So is it, I deserve to not be bullied?
I deserve not to be bullied. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so like, you can play with whatever opposites there are of that. But so for example, like I deserve to be respected.
I deserve to be respected. Yeah.
Right. You want to look at the grounding in your body. And so, yeah, you're doing great. And you can emphasize different words as you say at different times. Like, I deserve to not be, or I deserve to not be bullied, or I deserve to be respected. Right. Compared to I deserve to be respected. So part of that's a way of integrating it is emphasizing different words.
Okay. So emphasis the I. I deserve
Well,
to be respected.
emphasize I, emphasize deserve, emphasize respected. So play with saying it different ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
And then
makes
there's
sense.
also, how about this one? I respect me.
That's hard to say already.
It's great. And you can
I
feel that, and that's
respect me.
okay. Yeah. And if it's too
Yeah.
much, so then you can say, I'm willing to discover that I can respect me.
I'm willing to discover that I can respect me.
Right. Or say, like, I'm willing to respect me and feel safe.
I'm willing to respect me and feel safe.
Or I'm willing to discover how to respect me and feel safe.
I'm willing to discover how to respect me and stay safe,
It's,
be safe, am safe.
yeah. I'm willing to discover how to be safe, how to feel safe while I respect me.
Yeah.
And the shorter is better, I think, but I'm just giving you examples of, yeah. So just like everyone's like different flavors and different versions.
Yeah, no, it's
But,
good.
oh, and one other thing, other people mentioned chakras and things like that too. I just put those notes in there. Third, Aylin also mentioned just third chakra, which is lessons about healthy sense of self. And she didn't know anything about your story, but yeah, the third chakra is healthy sense of self. So that's all connected to what you're, and I love the connection to like liver and anger and all those things. Those are all great. Yeah, that other people have shared.
Okay, gosh. A wealth of things that I can do. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us and allowing us to support you and supporting everyone else by your question.
Thanks.
All right, great. Yeah, that's right. And Daniel's mentioning in the chat too, we've got a recording of this, so you can go back and listen again. Tracy, we want to make sure you know that. Yeah, Tracy may be taking a moment. Yeah, Tracy, we just want to make sure you know you can go back and listen to the recording again. I'll get it posted up on YouTube.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, does anyone else have a question for us? And right after she answered, it turned out that Paige had to leave. So I want to just mention too, so Paige Altmann does Reiki healing ceremonies and healing workbooks. Her website is merkabaawakening.godaddysite.com. Her email is merkaba.awakening@outlook.com, and Merkaba is spelled MERKABA. I'm going to put her info in the chat too, and like her phone number is public too, so that's 503-444-0207. So if you want to connect with Paige, Paige would love to connect with you. Yeah, merkabaawakening.godaddysite.com. Yeah, so does anyone else have a question for us? That was a beautiful, lovely question of the integration of body and beliefs and so many things. Yeah, and how the journey, from all these things from long, long ago, they show up. they stay with us. We integrate all these things, right? All the things that we haven't allowed to flow through, they stay in our bodies and they show up later. And so our journey is, right, to be in that flow, to allow all those things to flow. And maybe if no one else has a question right now, I got hints of a general question we could look at that's related to the question that was just here, but there's a little bit more. It was not from long ago, but if we're interacting with someone that has strong narcissism now, what shows up for us in terms of this topic? There might be some other comments that the person makes about that, but so in terms of self-love and self-acceptance, then I'll just put in here, maybe we could put in the layers of like acceptance of other. If we're interacting with someone or could be interacting with someone that has narcissism, yeah, and I just the whole slippery slope of narcissism, right? Diagnosable and then other. Yeah, what comes up for us? What arises for us? And okay, great, we're going to get some clarity on the question. Go ahead. Feel free to unmute and share your wisdom. And if you want to bring you up here too.
Yeah, that was my wondering. Unmute myself later.
Well, go ahead and phrase it. Yeah, however you want to phrase it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, kind of context is that I've been studying narcissism the last couple of years and am really blown away by what a big deal it is. And so glad I'm studying in advance rather than getting blindsided. And I remember I had an encounter with a total stranger for about 15 minutes that has served as my example to role play. Anyway, I think it's somewhat common, I guess, for kind of us on our journey to have narcissistic or more than one relationship that kind of jump-started our search, our journey of conscious healing. And then I'm wondering, can anybody speak to some personal experiences or perspectives from encountering in a meaningful way narcissism, someone living narcissistic patterns, after we're equipped with some skills? So it's not kind of at the front end of our journey, but more we've had some time to develop some perspectives and skills, and what that's like because I consider it a major test of things that we learn. So I'm just kind of wondering about that kind of scenario.
Yeah, that's great. And just so people have context too. So Daniel's one of the practitioners in the community, and sometimes he appreciates our panels and comes to listen to lots of panels, and sometimes supports us with some general questions. So before we answer, Daniel, I just got to ask you one question. What sent you on this journey to study narcissism? Because a several-year journey of studying it, there's got to be something more personal for you too, and maybe that 15-minute experience was really what you're aware of that prompted it.
Well, I want to be careful not to make this a personal question.
Sure. Okay, well, take that off and go there another time, but that totally just comes up. I want
it to be a general kind of relatable query for everybody listening. But
yeah, sure, that's great.
That's just the way my inner teacher works, is kind of giving me outer lessons and inner lessons, and it tends to, the curriculum's coordinated.
Great. All right. Well, so who of you are holding hands? Because you're not holding hands in the way Zoom. Hold your hand up, and then I know what order you're in. I might have seen Anita and then Yashu'a and then Christina. But Dana, were you in there too? I don't know. All right. Daniel, I can take you off. Yeah, so who wants to speak to that? I'm fine with whatever order y'all go in. Oh, Anita, you're muted. And just
Yeah,
maybe.
would you go, Joshua? Would you like to go first? I will be very short.
It doesn't matter. Everything is happening for me.
Because my father was narcissistic, and also I attracted a boyfriend in my younger years with similar traits. And I found a common trait in them from their childhood. Like my dad was a spoiled, he was the favorite of he was a mama's boy, he was the youngest, very spoiled. And this boy was the same, very spoiled from childhood. And I saw that, like, sometimes narcissistic people, just because they are spoiled, there is no deep seated issues there. Like, I think sometimes is overrated or overanalyzed, I would say. And because they were allowed, they were allowed to get away with things. And so, and even my mother allowed my dad to get away with the things he did. Like, he had everything his own entrance to the house, his own everything. And he had a family, so he didn't share that with us. And my mom allowed him to do that. And sometimes that's the issue. Like, we allow them to be the way they are. So that's my intake on narcissism.
That's great. Thanks for sharing your bit. Yeah, if you have more, you're welcome to come back. So Yashu'a, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually recently I had an experience, but I happened to, based on my experience, always get the coverts, always get the ones that conceal themselves.
Oh, yeah.
I always get, you know, so I never see them coming. I never see them coming at all. And most of them have been birthed out of chaos and dysfunction. Deep chaos and dysfunction. You know, I talk about things that I have been through. I mean, they have been through some stuff, and it has become a somewhat of a something to protect, protective mechanism for them. They use it to protect. But this one situation, because of all my training of 20 years, I run into this one person, and this particular time, I decided to become the observer. They don't know that they're covert. They don't know that they're covert narcissists. They don't know that. They don't. A flower doesn't know it's a flower. It just bees a flower, you know. But I just observed the behavior, and I monitored my engagement, because I know, and I knew, if I really got caught up in the wheels, the spokes of that, I would lose myself completely. Been there, done it. Wore the t-shirt, flip flaps, hat, whatever you want to call it. I've done that. So because of my experiences, I just observe the behavior, and I just monitor how much I want to engage. And then when they come out the gate and they say, well, I don't want to talk to you anymore, I can say, oh, I knew that was coming. Be well. I knew it all along. It's a pattern. It's a pattern, you know. Yeah. Look at Daniel.
Yeah, and many times they play the game so perfect, like they are the nicest people you ever met. And then one day you can just see the flip of the eyes, or something just not right there. Like something nasty. It doesn't go with that person. And the little signs bubble up, like after a few months, or maybe even years. Am I muted? No. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So,
Yeah,
was
so
it-
no, whichever of you want to share, because you're using different methods of putting your hands up. But I guess go ahead, Christina, and then Damon.
Sure. I love the topic of the narcissist, and I do want to say that if you look on YouTube and Google, The narcissists are covered everywhere and always from a place of blame and disgust. And I actually want to point out, and thank you, Yashu'a, for bringing it up. The narcissist is not an evil person. Their personality is born out of the deepest trauma possible, which very few people like psychologists, they don't talk about that. They just talk about the victims of the narcissist. And so I want to say that first. Also, I believe very much that we as souls completely choose and plan our life and every experience and every person. So if we choose to meet a narcissist, there is a major lesson to be learned. I personally would call narcissists catalysts, because if you're ready, they're going to help you grow and ascend so quickly that like normal people wouldn't do that. And because they often force us to set boundaries. And so we see a lot like narcissists like to, and the empath, that's a really common combination, or people that don't want to say no. So when we encounter them, there is an invitation for us to set limits, boundaries. We can evolve drastically on our journey. And at the same time, if we can say, I'm going to say no to this, I'm setting my boundaries, and I can send love and light to that soul that's suffering, I think that's where great growth can happen, and we're making the world a better place. So thank you.
Dina.
Yeah, thank you for that, Christina. You actually just spoke the words that were right here with me. And I love everything that you spoke to. So I almost feel complete with your share. But just to second that, it's like so much about acknowledging the origins of suffering for each individual, and this experience that we're on in this divine dance of attracting these different experiences and challenges and places to learn and to grow. And so to not other, the person who is exhibiting as a narcissist, but to also, and this is a very evolved, way of approaching it, but to also consider the origins and to, use it as a mirror. If there is, if you're engaging with someone who is testing the boundaries, it's like coming back to self. Oh, what am I wanting? What am I asking for? What am I needing? And can I love those spaces that I might be seeking in this person, or seeking approval or seeking acknowledgement from this person? And to remember that that's also an opportunity for self-love. And then very important about the boundaries and what is not okay, and speaking those terms clearly. I don't have a lot of personal interactions or experience with narcissistic people, although I did experience growing up my mom, who was very much submerged and overwhelmed in her own experience of volatile emotions. And so I've learned through that journey to turn the lens on, like, what am I needing, and not so much about what the other needs, and accommodating and going to try to solve or fix or walk on eggshells. And so it can be an empowerment process as well. And everybody is a teacher and everybody is a learner, and we're all here helping each other up, into this space of more awareness and more consciousness.
Yeah, and to also bring it back to Yashu'a, what you said in the beginning, right? Coming back to center and not be influenced by the outside. Many narcissists use gaslighting. So you really have to be very clear. Is this true for me? Like, what is my truth? So again, like so many levels of healing and learning.
Yeah, this is so great. I just keep thinking, like, what are my recent examples and how have I been with them? And maybe I had an example from today too. So the history that I come from, so I mentioned my grandma was narcissistic, and my mom is maybe somewhere on the continuum, certainly so much wounding. The mixture of like the empath and the narcissist together. My ex-husband and I had famous teachers, and so really messy, getting kicked out of communities, and like where I see my judgment, my story, that they engage in ways that are narcissistic. I'm like, oh, and so my blindness to it. So at first I was upset, offended, defensive, how could they? And I blamed them. How could you not walk your talk, kind of thing. And so that's what I ran in my head for a long time. And so my previous girlfriend, so just my previous partner, but it's like, 8 whatever years ago, in the way we ended, it got really clear to me that she also was narcissistic too. And I knew that she had parents that were narcissistic. So like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And I felt much more openness and much more acceptance at that point. I realized I had chosen her. So in whatever in me that I didn't see this, and I chose her, and she clearly was off on another pathway and our breaking up. And so just much more soft and I was much more vulnerable and no blame. So there's a big shift for me over the few years. And that really woke me up too, to owning my history in a new way and seeing how I'm the one that chose all this stuff. And, which led me into the question, do I have some of this in me that I don't see, and all those kinds of things. So then after that, maybe just a few years after that, I had someone who was more of a peer and then became more of a leader teacher in the community. That at first there was some weird power dynamics, kind of something that I felt some boundary come up in me around with them, that it was more messy. I didn't realize what was happening. And then later there were some other behaviors and other things that I realized, oh, they are behaving in narcissistic ways too. And I got really clear with my no. So not in a big, messy, dramatic way. It was just no. And like, I own this community too, and these things are not okay. And then when I saw it really hurt someone else, I did have some defensiveness and protectiveness of that person that was there. So, but that makes sense too, because I had a big caretaking thing growing up that came up. So that one came up for me. So part of, for me, is the journey is being spacious and patient with the people that don't see it. Because there were other people in the community that just just saw it differently than I did. And part of it too is opening me up to other cultures and other days of doing things. So I've taken more of an approach of when I discover that someone has some narcissistic tendencies, I tend to avoid them. I'm not interested in interacting with that. But then in the time sharing about that situation a lot, I realized that I think it was, this person is from Brazil maybe, and in their culture, they all accept everyone that's in the community. And so there might be a handful of, a big, whatever, like group of 8 girlfriends, and there might be someone that's difficult in some way. And she was describing that the person might go to this person and they need some attention and they want it over here, and this person just doesn't have time. So someone else volunteers and they'll all together, they'll end up holding the person that is challenging or difficult in some way. And so the same thing with the person that is narcissistic, and this is just how they are. And so everyone in the community finds a way to hold and make space for everyone in all the ways they show up. It's just so different from, I guess, the approach in many ways in the United States. So it's really interesting for me hearing about all this. And I think that, so I guess for me, it's to be more discerning and to pick things up sooner. And I coach people all the time about how to have dating experiences where they can ask questions to pick these kinds of things up. So when I interview people, and I interviewed someone, say recently, that they happen to have the power talent and they might have had the dominance motivation, which are really strong traits. And so do they have these traits? Are they somewhat narcissistic? Is there a risk that they're narcissistic? And, and where is this? And then, so the question that I ask when I interview people is generally, what's the time you experienced when you made a mistake or experienced a failure? What happened? What did you learn? And if you could do it over again, what would you change? But can they own their part? For me, that's the big definition of the continuum, because almost everyone in there has trouble owning their parts. And for dating, I have suggested people ask, like, what are the lessons you learned in your previous relationships? What have you changed from what you've learned? So can they talk about in a way they really own their own learnings there and not just blame it on a situation or other people? And then recently I was in a situation of choosing to include someone to participate in something that I do. And they're very strong. And when I was looking at the language on their websites, it's very bold. And I was like, there's a risk that maybe they're too bold. And so I shared that with a colleague that I do this with. And so she knew that I knew. I wasn't sure. And when I experienced the person more deeply, it may be just that they're confident and they're proud and they're willing to be big and owning who they are. And so that was really interesting for me too. And that, okay, maybe I'm noticing something and maybe it's really not there. And it's like showing me some of my learning opportunities of how I can be big and I can in this way own my space. I own my mistakes. I own my errors. And how can I own my greatness in a way that isn't narcissistic and where I love myself and accept myself more?
Mhm.
So in that way, they can be teachers and people not like that, but the continuum of being proud that I haven't fully stepped into.
Mhm.
So yeah. So hopefully that answers some of how to be with this and address this when we've gained some skills and some experience. And yeah, if anyone else has something else to share about that, go ahead.
I think as you become more established and more integrated within thyself, the need to be big is no longer an option. It's just like, you don't need to do anything because your energy speaks for you. It says, especially if you're around people who are sensitive, your energy speaks for you. And I say that because that's how most people view me. I don't say much, but I am a shade tree. I'm a tree of life to a lot of people. And they like to be around me. And half of the time, they don't even know why they want to be around me. And I don't toot my horn. I really don't want the attention. I really don't want the attention. But one thing about becoming more and more centered with oneself is a state of humbleness comes over you. And you're just meek and humble. You don't have anything to defend, because a lot of time when we're trying to be big and this, it's a defense mechanism somewhere. There's something going on. I had this experience with one individual. I mean, they were really talking, just just really talking a lot. And they did not breathe through the conversation. I felt like I had to play double dutch with them when I was conversing with them. But I realized that there's something behind all of that activity, all of that energy going on. There's some type of imbalance going on. Otherwise, you can breathe, you can talk, breathe, talk. You have a rhythm. Your rhythm is on point with everybody around you. And I don't. There's no need to be big and boisterous and and you don't want, and if it makes you feel a certain kind of way, I mean, in your heart of hearts, and it keeps on doing that, it's a pattern. There's a pattern there. So if you don't nip it at the gate, the beginning of it, oh, it's gonna be big, and in the very end, it's gonna really it's gonna really throw you off, and you don't want that. You don't want that type of energy. So just be more discerning.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said about being humble, and think of it as demonstrating transformation. So being me and letting me speak for me, just letting my presence and my energy. Yeah, and so the person was much more humble in person than their marketing material, and I think they're older websites, but there's a way that I had been hiding for a long time, right? So I'm on the front of all these things now, but there's still some ways that I've hid. Like I market the MeWe events and the group events so much more than I market my own, to just lessons of letting myself be seen, maybe comparing, contrasting, to being big. Yeah. Anything else on this theme of? Daniel.
I just want to thank you for giving the topic its due. That felt really rich and meaningful. The exploration's kind of an evolved look at the matter. So thank you.
Great. Thanks so much for the question. All right. Are there any other questions from the audience? Oh, Tracy just wrote a thank you for our insight and caring, thinking through all the ideas and comments, and having that clarity is huge. Appreciating us. Yeah, thank you so much, Tracy. All right. Yeah, so we can take a question on anything. The theme is great, and take anything else. If there's another general topic that people want us to chat about, we can do that. One of us can ask a question of each other. And if we don't have any of these things coming up, we can also close out early. I'm open to what wants to be. Yeah, just waiting in the space a little bit. Sometimes someone wants to ask a question and just hasn't jumped in, and they can't quite get to their unmute button or their chat button. Yeah. And if any of us want to ask a question of us, we're welcome to do that. So just know we can do that too. There may not be anything, but we can, if we want to.
I would like one of your eye readings that you do, Laureli.
You want a little bit of a sample of that? Oh, and everyone, I'm putting the link in the chat for if you give us some feedback on today, we will enter you into a drawing for a free 30-minute session with one of us of your choice. We would love your feedback. Yeah, sure. Do you want me to share a little bit about your eyes?
Sure. Do I need to?
I need some light on your eyes. I think I know from earlier, but
Need some-
let me say what I'm guessing from here. So my sense is that you love learning. You're always absorbing information. You have a big map inside of all that you know. And when new data comes in, you're always checking where does it fit in the map, and you're asking, is the map right? Is the data right? You don't want to let anything in that will mess up your map. So you enjoy asking questions and answering questions. It's like solving a puzzle. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And one of your talents is knowledge. Oh yeah, great. We will finish up here in a second. And then and my sense is that you feel emotions deeply, big waves of emotions. You notice not only what's here, you see what's possible. You like to inspire and motivate people to stretch and reach for what's possible. Use emotions to pull people forward. You're passionate. You have strong opinions sometimes. Integrity and fairness mean a lot to you. And so inspiration is one of your natural talents too. So knowledge and inspiration. So learning and understanding and helping people get into alignment and move forward and being authentic is all part of your purpose, which is why you do what you do. And then this combination, they're often great teachers. So yeah, we are probably going to close up early, and I want Dana to have a chance to share first. I'll put Dana's information in the chat. And Dana, I want you to be able to share all your contact info and what you do and all those things on the video. So anyone that comes back and watches the video, they have a chance to know who you are and how to get in touch with you.
Great. Thanks, Lorelei. Pleasure to be here with you all today. And my name is Dana Hersh. My website is danahersh.com, and that's HERSH. I am a clairvoyant and a healer and a teacher, and I offer many ways for folks to come into alignment to self and to connect with their own clarity, to receive guidance through some of my readings, or to learn how to do that for themselves. And I help people build intuition and learn all about the energy field and chakras. And I do workshops as well and retreats occasionally. So one way that you can learn about the upcoming events, whether they're in person or online, is to subscribe to my insight letters. It's a bi-monthly letter that goes out with some little tidbits of wisdom and personal accounts sometimes, and then also information about my offerings and any specials. And so you can do that at my website, danahersh.com/subscribe. And I'm also offering a 30% discount for those people here at the panel tonight. And the discount code is MeWe Special. Each word has a capital letter at the beginning of the word. And you'll get to have a one-on-one session with me at a 30% discount from my regular rates. So I think that's everything. I will pass the torch, and I've got to chime out right now to whatever it is, sign off. So thanks everybody for bringing your questions and your presence. And it was a pleasure to be with all of you panelists too. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Dana.
Thank you.
All right, great. Yeah, so we'll just go around the circle. So everyone take a turn to sign out. So yeah, whoever wants to go next, go ahead.
Well, mine's, what are we doing here? We're
just
giving our information.
Signing out. So share
We're just signing
who you are and what you do. Go ahead and share all the different things that you do, and then your contact info. So it's in the video. So if anyone watches the video, they can come back and
it's
find you.
already in it. Okay. Well, If it's already in the video, I don't need
No,
to.
go ahead, say it again, please. Someone might, skip along and then they, yeah.
Okay. Again, I am Yashu'a Eloheem, and I am a Reiki master teacher. I'm an oracle card reader and medium. If you want a reading, I would like to do a consultation first. You can always reach me at sunkofa9@gmail.com. Is that the email that you have?
I have Sankofa Divinity at Outlook, but really whatever you have is great.
Yeah. Or Sankofa Divinity at outlook.com. So, yeah.
Great. Thanks
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad.
You're so welcome. I was just thinking too, we have a tradition of all the practitioners always sharing at the end. So people know if they want to find out more about who you are and all that, they go to the end. So yeah, thank you for sharing. All right, Christina.
All right, y'all. Thanks. I didn't know either. So again, I am an intuitive energy healer and channel. I also give guidance on the Galactic Akashic Records reading and Starseed origins. And I also do intuitive eating, which is a more practical approach to making peace with food and your body. For this special event, I am offering 20% off the virtual energy healing sessions. And if anybody in the audience feels like I want to start my own journey, I offer Reiki trainings also online, and love to see you all visit Oahu one day, and then I can invite you to an in-person retreat here. And also, again, thanks for having me. It was wonderful. I loved all the panelists. I'm so glad to connect with the community and expand my circle. So mahalo.
It's great. And I was just realizing we started at 5:30 today, so we're actually finishing on time. Anita, are you still here? Do you want to check out? Yeah, great.
Yeah, so I have got my email address and my phone number, I think
they're in the chat. Please say them so they're in the video, so that if anyone comes back and watches the video, they can find you.
Yeah, so I am hanging out here today because I had much to share, but as I said, I am a friend and highly intuitive, and also I think I'm more specialized on both sides of the grief, on the side of the griever, and also I am practicing mediumship almost every day. I don't charge money for it, but obviously if somebody comes through, we can agree to something. So my phone number is 503-826-6946, and my email address is jeffandanita99@gmail.com. And so I just would like to be an ear to somebody who feels like they want to chat. I never had that ears when I was younger, and I would be honored if you could share anything, share with me. And also if you had a loss and you need some help, how to move forward, I'm here to help you and listen. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
Thank you for putting me in the circle today.
You're so welcome. And I'm Laureli Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader, body psychology coach, and matchmaker. And you can learn more about my work at intuitiveeyereading.com, at matchmakingsoulmates.com. I do a 20-minute consultation if you're considering doing a session with me and you want to get to know me more and my work and get a sample of what I do. Happy to do that with you. And all the information on how to work with me is on my website. And then we have lots of upcoming events here at MeWe. We're just starting to get back to the online events again. So August 26th, 10 in the morning, we're experimenting with Saturday, 10 in the morning. We have the art of the cards. So we'll have people doing all kinds of different card readings on that panel. And then getting into September 20, we have Finding Peace panel. That's on, Wednesday, September 20. And that's in honor of International Day of Peace. That comes right after that at solstice. And then Sunday, September 26th, we have our online fair. So we'll have about 15 to 20 practitioners that'll all be sharing their work at the online fair. And then in person, we're going to be out in Ocean Shores, Washington this weekend. And then We have a heart space sound bath out there on Sunday. So we'll be there at the fair Saturday, Sunday with about 60 booths. Heart space sound bath on Sunday. And then Saturday, Sunday, September 9 and 10, we'll be in Eugene, Oregon. So thanks so much, everyone, for being here. You can find out more about all of our events at mewefairs.com, MEWEFAIRS.com. Thank you so much, practitioners, for being here on the panel together with me. It's been great being all together, introducing you to our format panels. There's a little bit smaller panel tonight. Thank you so much. Those of you that have been here and holding space and asking questions, and those of you that are still here, it's great. Thank you so much for supporting us. It's what allows us to do these events. All right.